This is a natal chart reading for Lisa. I am going to start with the big three and then we'll jump around a little bit, see what sticks out. This should be around 30 minutes. First, starting off, the big three is going to really talk about the accessible consciousness attributes to a lot of the way you're perceived and how you perceive others. So starting with the Gemini rising, this is an air sign, so it gives this first impression of being someone who has a lot going on internally, an intellectual mind. I always think the Gemini rising person is like the scientific method in persona. It's somebody who walks into a new situation and starts collecting data. So sometimes they're seen as not super extroverted at first because really you're observing, you're using that mercurial energy of your intellect and you're just taking the information. You want to see what's going on. You want to know all of people, the variety of experiences. And then you can start with your own expression. It's always what's going on around you that first gets your attention. You can be quite the observer, just like the Virgo rising. There's a lot of observation before you start to interact. You use this to help you interact as the air sign here, the communicator. All the air signs have this in common that if you have an air rising, you are here to create connections between people. You're the bridge that helps us all communicate and become a shared experience. So the Gemini rising will be perceived by others as someone who is going to be socially engageable on some level. Usually a Gemini rising offers some type of different perspective on a situation because they understand a lot of duality that other rising signs don't have. Gemini being the sign of the twins, they understand that not everything is at face value. So there's a level of always wanting to find the dualism in every situation and every person. So you might give the perception to others that you are looking past just superficialities. You might ask really you might ask questions that really make someone have to think before they answer. And you do this to help yourself understand. The goal of the Gemini rising person is always to understand someone before being understood. It's really not an egocentric situation. The Gemini person really wants to understand and collect data. They're here to always be the student. They always want to learn something from someone. And they do this by going to many different places and meeting a variety of people. So you might find that in life, you're drawn to doing new things and having experiences that you haven't had before, or repeating experiences until you feel like you fully understand something. You ask a lot of questions. You might take a lot of notes. You might be somebody who has a great memory and can recall different facts about people, and it makes people feel like you're really connected and you really are listening to them. When you speak of someone who has experience and who can offer a lot of insight on situations. You might enjoy being like a problem solver or part of like group thinking processes. You can really shine in any written work or any work where you need to speak to a group of people. You're gifted with words and you can do it really well with back and forth communications. When people really get to know you, they're going to see more of your Libra sun. So the gift here is that you have an air rising and an air sun. So that ability to communicate and that need to communicate, that need to make connections and relationships with people is strong. Your sun sign, where you can most easily access your consciousness, how people who really know you would probably describe you, is in the sign of Libra. So they might see that you're very cooperative and that when you come into situations, you're very partnership oriented. So you don't mind being part of a team. You really shine in one-on-one situations, but as a double air, you could work with a whole group of people. You're really seeking harmony and serenity in all of your affairs. So sometimes the Libra sun person goes through some turbulences in life because evolutionary astrology would suggest that you maybe before in a different life or earlier in this life, there was some type of chaos. And you're here this time because you want to experience serenity and peace in affairs. You don't want to be stressed out anymore. Your goal in this conscious awareness that you have of your sun is to shine the light on the peaceful parts, the beauty, and the ability to relax. You have this like great aesthetic taste and intelligence that you can see when things bring you peace. You might find peace from beautiful things, nature, artwork, music, certain people who their attitudes are one of gentleness and cooperation. They make you feel peaceful. You're drawn to these types of things, and you might embody these things into your own style or your own home. You might be really good at decorating. I say this because your sun's in your fifth house, and that is the house of creativity and that house of really finding pleasure and joy from things. It's usually somebody in this house with the sun there is a very talented person. You must know by now that you're gifted at something. There's something that you do that other people don't do as well as you, just naturally. In the sign of Libra, I would think it's something that either brings peace to others, makes them feel like they are a more beautiful version of themselves, or maybe it's that your presence brings them those feelings, or maybe you're really good at some type of art, um, fine art or any type of performing arts. But or even if you're not one to do it yourself, and a deep appreciation and a respected taste in these things. If you say that symphony was the best I've ever been to, people would be like, oh, I can respect that because I know she has a good taste in things. So even if I know nothing about it, I'm going to trust her opinion because I've come to learn that she's usually correct about anything aesthetically pleasing or anything like music that needs to be in tune or brings you that feeling of peacefulness that others can't hear. So you have a lot going on in your fifth house, but we're going to come back to that. Let's move on to your moon for now. Your moon is in the sign of Leo. So now we add fire to your chart. We had two air signs, and now we have fire. These are very compatible. These signs work well together. They're happy together. Fire only invigorates, or excuse me, air only invigorates fire. The spark that really takes off. It's fueled by each other. You have the intellect and you have the passion. You have this external energy of getting things done. So it's called a yang energy, sometimes masculine, but a Leo moon and a Libra sun and a Gemini rising. You have three very external energies. You're here to really get things done. You're here to meet people, connect people, send your message, get your message out to people and express yourself. You're here to, with the third or the second quadrant being pretty full here, you're here to really like make relationships and let yourself be known to others. So see all that energy? That's like an external energy. I hate to say extroverted or introverted because those things, we all kind of go back and forth on those things depending on who you're around, what your mood is. I don't really personally feel like it's fair to say if someone's extroverted or introverted because I think that fluctuates. At least it does in me. And especially if you have a fire moon, the moon is ever changing. So just like the phases of the moon, this part of you could ebb and flow depending on what's going on. And that's where you find your emotional security. So usually the mother is related here because the mother is the first person that we really feel an intimate connection with, the one that first responds to our needs and makes us feel safe. It's not always mom, but traditionally that's who it is. But this is the kind of relationship that you're looking for in life to feel secure again emotionally. So with the moon in Leo, you it gives you a little burst of um, that that passionate energy. And I think it's helpful for you because Gemini and Libra can also be sometimes so cooperative or so concerned about making connections with others that they kind of forego their own wishes sometimes just to gain that experience of someone else, which is purposeful in your chart. But that Leo moon really helps you pull it back into yourself. Like, hey, um, I I do really want to help this person, or I'm concerned about what's going on here. I want this partnership to work out well. But I also need to shine the light in my own life. I am a fifth house stellium and a Leo moon. So a lot of the time, the conversation is going to be about you. You're going to be gifted with your ability to speak and influence others. And I think it's a lot about what your talents are and getting what you need out of relationships with people. And those people are better off for it because they get to know you and they get to share your sunlight here, your your ability to make people feel warm, appreciated, really seen for their talents is strong. And I think that people appreciate that and they're kind of drawn to you. Wherever you have a Leo in your big three, it's like this you kind of create this orbit around yourself because the sun is the biggest thing in our solar system. And you can't help but feel this gravitational pull between people who have a Leo in the big three and people who do not. It's almost like we're just kind of drawn to hear you and be influenced by you, or just watch you and see what you're going to do next. You might have a lot of ideas, with all that air, and you might have the courage with this Leo moon to really get things going. You might be somebody who is not afraid to try new things and gets going on ideas and really just says, hey, you know what? I think I can do this. That might be like your motto. I think I got this. I'm not gonna overthink everything like some heavy air people can get lost in the thought of the bigger picture, and sometimes they forget to take the action. But that's what I love about air and fire together. You have these great big pictures, and now you have that little kickstart to get the ball moving. Fire doesn't stay still, it spreads. You inspire others and you use your energy. It doesn't stay inside of you. I think even in the moon of more of our subconscious feelings in Leo, I just think it's still really useful. It wants to move and act and do, and it makes you just really creative and really like fun loving, wanting to be in a situation where we're enthusiastic and enjoying ourselves. We're experiencing life and we're here for the joy of being alive. That is a fifth house stellium theme too. So you probably carry that in a lot of your affairs, having the moon in Leo as well. um so for this moon being in the fourth house, I would say that you probably are somebody who likes to feel like their family is involved in their affairs. You probably feel really close to at least somebody in your family, your mother, your your roots. So the fourth house is kind of the roots. If you think of a tree, the fourth house or the IC is our roots, where we came from, our legacies, the foundations that we stand on, our early experiences in life, those people that really shaped us and nourished us to grow. You have an emotional connection to these people. And in Leo, it can be like this protective energy. You might feel like you would do anything for these people. You're very loyal to them, and you feel like it's a fixed sign. So it's probably something that always really stays close to your heart, and you're probably connected. If it's not your actual family, people that you feel were like family, and you just can be kind of reminiscent, and you can be fiercely protective of them. And it's going to help you when you feel like you need to be emotionally secure with someone else. You might feel drawn to people who feel that way about their family too, or that in the future, having that type of family of your own is going to make you feel secure. You might fantasize about having your own, royal empire. Since it's Leo, you might really look forward to doing that and growing the next generation down the line, and then being a mama bear to them, or not necessarily that you have to be a mother, but just that you have some sort of place that you can help other people feel like they're getting a good start, and encourage them to shine bright in their own lives. So family is going to be an important part of your story. So now let's look to your little three. So we have Mercury, Venus, and Mars, part of the little three. They still are inner planets, so they still impact our personality. The big three covers really a lot of our motivations and what really makes us go, how other people would really see us. But the inner planets still are important because they impact parts of our personality that really makes us more dynamic and makes us different than just what our big three would say. It's a whole nother layer, right? We're all like onions, and this is just another layer of your story. So for Mercury being in Libra, that's a gift for you. You have the ability to speak your mind. And I love that it's an air sign. It's just going to give you more impact when you are trying to make these connections and communicate your thoughts. You're someone who's seen as you talk the talk and walk the walk. If you said it, you meant it. There is no confusion. The sign of Libra is known for being indecisive. So it's not that you always have the answer to everything, because you're likely to really see a big, broad spectrum of options and people's motivations. And you're not quick to jump to, this is the absolute truth, because you know that there are many options and that there's many different sides to people or situations. So when they say Libra is indecisive, I say, well, is it that they're indecisive, or it's just that they're really fair-minded and they have this need to seek justice in all affairs, and they're not going to just go with the masses on what's popular opinion. They're not. They're a cardinal sign of doing their own thing. If everybody says guilty, I think it's the Libra juror who would argue, have we looked at everything? Have we thought through every single thing? Did we really rush into this answer, or do we need to let it simmer for a little bit? Because I'm not going to say something and then regret it later. I'd rather say nothing until I know for sure than to say the wrong thing and do something that's not fair. So that's just the kind of thought process that Mercury Libra has, and that goes really nicely with your Libra sun and your Gemini rising, because that is kind of your essence of all this experience you want. You need to think it over. You're probably somebody who doesn't have to go back and correct things a lot, because you probably had already thought it through before you said anything. So Venus is the next one. This is how we are in love, kind of our relationship style, or any type of close partnership that we feel with people. Venus is the ruler of Libra, also is of Taurus, but for you, I feel like the Libra is more important. You have so much Libra energy going on, and I think your Scorpio uh, Venus brings another layer in that onion of depth and intensity that otherwise the Libra person would be a little bit more detached and aloof in their relationship style. All this air in your chart, when people first meet you with that Gemini rising, they might think that, you're analyzing things, you're very intellectual, you can come off emotionally detached at first because of that. But here is the difference. You have a Scorpio Venus. So there's nothing really detached about you once you've decided to let someone in. So once that Libra has gone through everything and said, you know what, I am ready to make a decision. I like this person. I want to see it through. Then we get that fixed energy again. And it's not likely to let go pretty fast. The Scorpio Venus is pretty intense here because it wants somebody to be completely merged with. It wants to merge souls with somebody, and basically, and it wants to do it um, in a most loyal way. It's not looking for many suitors. It's looking for one person who they can be so intimate with, and then share this journey together. The Scorpio is the sign of our shared resources. So there's nothing hidden. It's becoming about, if the Scorpio can dare to reveal themselves all the way, it's usually the problem here. Scorpio is ready to, claim this person finally, and they want to know everything about them. But is the Scorpio Venus person themselves willing to also let that person all the way in? So the challenge here is to seek intimacy. That's wonderful, but be ready that that's a two-way street. We need to also be willing to be completely seen. Then if we want to see them completely, we have to be willing to be seen too. But in a perfect story, I love a Scorpio Venus, because I mean, isn't that the point, like, of love? Is what I would say. Like, that's like the romance story, is like Scorpio's idealism. And if you can find this real fantasy on earth in someone, I think that's beautiful. The pain here comes from either not being willing to share your dark truths for fear of losing this fantasy, or from holding on so tight that the other person just feels like they're being owned instead of shared in this partnership. So I think that with all your Libra energy, though, you're naturally interested in balance. So when you feel things go off balance there, I think you'll be able to bring it back. And I think your lovers will be pleasantly surprised to learn that you're actually very willing to be intimate and deep and committed to someone, when maybe they thought, maybe they weren't sure. Maybe they thought it was, you were looking for something more casual with that Gemini rising. I think it'll be a nice compliment to all your Libra energy to find the balance there, and to learn a new level about yourself of how deep you really are willing to go in a partnership. In the sixth house, you might find love through workplaces. Um, if you're already with somebody, you might find that you work well when you have a project together. Sixth house is Virgo. It's practical skill, learning a craft together, building something, building the shed in the backyard, having a garden together. All of these things will bring out your loving nature, getting your hands in the ground. It's very Virgo energy. You might just feel really comfortable in nature. And if you're on a date with your partner or a potential partner, being in nature near the water with your Scorpio energy is always going to bring out a really special side of you that feels peaceful and more accessible to reach these loving intentions. So we'll move on to Mars now. This is your drive. It's also what you're attracted to. And people who identify as female, Venus is how they act in love. And then Mars would be what they're really attracted to in a partner. And for you, this Venus Mars is a square. So if you can see on yours, it's this red line right here. It's a pretty tight orb square. It's exact, actually. So you're 14 degrees in Mars in Leo, and you're 14 degrees in Venus in Scorpio. Um, so anytime we have a square, it's a challenge that when you complete, this tension can create great success in these areas. So I see you being attracted sometimes to maybe partners who don't exactly fit the mold of what would be like a perfectly gift wrapped, compatible situation. You might find that you really like or are drawn to like these really outspoken or um, just like real confident people, and maybe even pushing, arrogant, or just super self-assured, like they've already got it figured out, they got this, they're confident, some types of showmanship or competitiveness about them. It like brings out the fire in you, and it makes you really like interested in like being passionate and enthusiastic about things yourself, and it brings out your own competitive nature. So it kind of pushes all the like Libra, like peaceful seeking and graciousness kind of to the side, and kind of lights you on fire. It speaks to your moon. It's like, oh wow, like look at this person. They like act and live in the spotlight of how my inner desires and my inner instincts, who maybe don't get to come out all the time, that's there. That's my internal nature. And I get to see it on this person. And they are so connected to that energy that it pulls mine out too. And look at us. We're just like setting the world on fire. And that's awesome because that is your moon sign. So you're always going to have like this unspoken understanding between anyone that has a Leo sun, because that's your moon sign. So there's already synastry there of someone living the conscious version of your innermost feelings. So when that happens, you understand them and they understand you. And there's this nice complementary piece of not having to really explain a lot of things here. So you would just want to see then where their moon is. If their moon is in Libra, well, then there you go. That's perfect because now it's the inverse of that. And there's a lot of agreeability here. Where your square is that because your moon is your really intimate connections, and that's great. But when you're first really doing the loving relationship process and the daily expression of your love in a relationship type of way, this is a conditional love. Venus is more about discernment and how we act on the daily way of our love relationships. The moon is more it's great for soulmate type things because it's really like unconditional love. Once that person has reached that level of emotional security with you and it becomes unconditional love, then that's great. But the square is when it's you're actively trying to keep this chemistry with someone and you're really trying to keep that magic alive of the significant other. The Scorpio Venus in you likes that the people that you're attracted to can be loyal. They're both fixed signs, so that's a plus. But sometimes that people with the Leo Mars can just be, burn up all the fire at once. You were really attracted. It was bang. It was hot. It was good. And then it was over. And although they could be loyal, it's not there for you anymore. The fire has died down. It has been done. And that really makes your Scorpio Venus mad because they wanted it to keep getting deeper. They're the ocean. They can go deep, deep, deep. They want it to really be limitless. But a fire will eventually burn out. So I feel like that's the difference here. That's the square. Finding someone who maybe isn't so hot at first, but that there is more to them that gets you excited down the line. You have like the psychological attraction too. You don't want to see, you're excited by people, but really, I think what makes your Scorpio Venus hot and excited about someone is that you can't see it all at first, that you haven't figured them all out yet. You know, Scorpio is a psychological sign. It wants mystery, it wants depth, it wants to know that it only gets more interesting the further you go. So that's the square here. It's being hot for somebody, but like keeping it going, um, and not letting it fizzle out. Same thing with determination and drive here. The Mars Leo, I think, is a happy sign because Mars is fire. It wants to go and it's ready. The Leo energy here is very passionate and it also is driven. In the fixed sign, I think it helps Mars kind of keep that power going. But it can be a little brash and it can be a little self-focused. So where everything else in your chart is kind of working on another person, except your moon and your Mars, I would say be careful just that. Sometimes if things aren't fair to you, if your Libra is not happy and it talks to your Leo instead, I could see Leo bursting out of you every once in a while, saying like, "Hey, I'm putting my foot down. Like this has gone too far and I won't be pushed around. And you're going to see my fire now because my Mars is ready to fight and the lion in me is going to bite your head off." So that might just be like a little shell shock to some people who are like, whoa, I didn't know she could go there, but yes, you can. So just make sure that your Leo is getting enough attention, that your Leo is reminding you scales might need to be tipped in your favor a little bit because your Leo is the shining star. You have a fifth house stellium. The lights need to be on you, and your partnerships, they need to be supporting you and they need to make you feel like you're really doing the great thing and you really are taking time to focus on your skills and like you're the star of your own story, that you're never getting too bogged down by being a supporting role because this whole story for you in your fifth house is saying, I am the star. I have some gift I need to work on and share, and I really need to express myself in this life. So, if I could find somebody to do it with, that would be awesome. But they need to be supporting me. I'm not the one that is their hype person. I need to find a hype person. Like, I'm the star here, and in the best way, I will make everyone shine when they support me, but I can't spend all my energy supporting you because that's going to take energy away from working on what I'm here to do. And when you really follow the light of the sun in your chart, you really feel aligned to yourself. So I think we need to listen to your fifth house Libra stellium and get you focused on whatever your gift is and your talent is that another person really appreciates about you and they probably benefit from too. So let's move on now to your nodes for the sake of time. Your south node is in the ninth house and your north node is in the third house. So evolutionary astrology would suggest that in a past life, you were seen as a really wise, knowledgeable person, some type of mentor, shaman, spiritual guide, really successful and knowledgeable and experienced in many different walks of like higher philosophies or dogma. You are seen as some kind of person that people would go to for advice and wisdom and to hear stories about how other people are doing things because of all your great travels and years of study. You come into this life and you have this authoritarian or at least authoritative energy about you in Capricorn, and that's your gift. Their south node is a gift. You can use this skill to help you in this life. You're really good at it. And people know that. And then you can teach people who need to learn how to embody this by your presence. So the South Node is never anything that we should feel needs to go. It's a gift. It's something that it took you a whole lifetime to master before, or at least early in this life, if you're not interested in past life theories. So you present yourself in this really knowledgeable way, um, and in this really like independently, um, like competent way. You might be very mature, and you might have worked hard through life, and people can feel that about you. You know, they wouldn't say that you're somebody who's wishy-washy about stuff like maybe other heavy Libra placements. There's this sense of knowing about you, and like that you're on some kind of track, and you're going to put one foot in front of the other until you get there. And you might speak a lot about working hard for the things you want, and you might be very self-disciplined, and you might not give people a lot of time for excuses. If they say, you know, somebody in your life has a whole bunch of excuses about things, you probably don't want to hear that, because you know what self-discipline is, and you know it takes work to get things done, and you're not interested in a lot of excuses. That's the kind of South Node energy that you have. So in this life, they would say, or as this life progresses, you'd like to evolve into someone who is going the other way, the headphones, into the third house, which is really cool because that is an air house and you have a lot of air energy. So it's like your chart is already helping you have this perspective to kind of help nudge you into this area. The third house is our daily grind. It's where we are with the community. We're one of many. We are not a shaman on a mountain giving everyone special advice as a leader, or some type of guru that has all the answers. We're one of the people down in the city, in the markets with everybody else, with all walks of life, and we're trying to really understand our neighbors. What are we all going through? How are we alike? How are we different? I want to learn about my fellows. I'm interested in my brother. You know, third house is literally siblings too. The relationships with people that I see every day in my community, in my neighborhood, in my siblings, in my school peers, this is where I want to be. I want my awareness to be in the everyday level, and I want to remain curious about it, and I want to always be learning. I never want to think that I know everything. I never want to feel like my learning is complete and I'm ready to be an expert. I always want to be the student. That's the third house north node. I want to be the student. What can I learn? I can never stop learning. As soon as things get dull and repetitive and someone tells me I graduated or I'm finished, that can't be it for me. I know there's something else that I need to learn here. And in the sign of Cancer, we're releasing the Capricorn authoritarian, the patriarch image, the one who provides the tough love and the guidance from their armchair. And we're becoming matriarchal in the fact that we're providing this unconditional love to others in this third house. And we want to be a nurturing role. We want to be in the kitchen with them, so to speak. We want to be feeding them emotional support and let them know that they're safe with us. And we want to do it in a way that they can then feel secure to go out into the world themselves. So it's really a humbling lifetime for you. You really want to feel like the humility of not really being seen as somebody who winds up with some type of, you know, accolade and they're now this great king of something. You want to always be seen as one of the people. And what I think is interesting about that is because you have so much fifth house energy, you do have talents and you have the great ability to shine. And what's exciting is that then you use this to nourish others and to make the community feel more connected within itself. And isn't that beautiful for all this air energy you have and all this fire houses and moon and Mars? You can really inspire people and you can really encourage people. You being your best self is going to somehow connect you to the community or your family, siblings, or people who you already know in life to feel like they are like you're on their side and that you want to see what's best for them too. And I think that just kind of nicely brings all of this together for you. And I think that really is how you shine in your chart. And you still keep that humility about you, even though you're going to feel the support of others and the acknowledgement of your great talents. You remain um, still on the same level. You're still balanced in that Libra energy. You're not um, letting it get to your head like some of these Leo, the dark side of the Leo can be um, really feeling like the center of the universe. But we don't want to have an over exaggerated belief of ourselves. You really still want to be relatable. You're here to make connections and be relatable to people. But you need to know that you can do that in your own talents and you can still be the star of your own show and do that. It's just this Libra vibe of finding the balance and all of that. Okay, that's it for me. Thanks so much. I'll stop here. Let me know if you have any questions. And thank you for being part of this page.